Hello there, and welcome back to Gatabud for part 2 of my money making video. In this video, we are going to get our crafting operation going now that we have hit 100 in every Disciple of Hand and Disciple of Land, as well as one combat class, and start making a ton of gil. Now, normally, this is the time where you try to pentameld your gear and get all set for a money-making operation. But the reality is, these materias are selling for too much to warrant that. So we're just going to make do with what we've got on previous expansion materia, start making money now, and set ourselves up for a good future to pentameld at a later date. So let's get into how we go about this efficiently, what to do, and why we are about to become a glorified FF14 Taco Bell franchise. What exactly do you need to accomplish, though, as a new crafter? You need to get your gear up to par, and that is for not only crafting, but Disciples of the Land as well. Crafting is going to come first on the gear upgrades, though, so this is going to get put on the back burner. But we are going to do a lot of collectibles. Now, each class has its own collectibles, but historically, alchemy and culinarian have always been the better ones. The new materia can be acquired by turning in the level 100 collectible to get Orange Scrips. This is the best one to do it, that I believe. And the reason is we can get Ronique Chuck from Hunting Ventures. So in my case, that's my 3 white mages. And then the other 3 are botany related things, which I would have liked one minor thing in the mix, but that's okay. Miners can help compensate for the massive amount of crystal usage. So consider sending them on those level 26 crystal ventures to help compensate for that, because we're going to be making a lot of tacos. So we have to make rye, so that's going to burn more fire crystals. And then the white pepper and the garlic are just very simple acquisitions that our botany retainers can handle, or we can go out and get them ourselves. The dark rye flour is a lower level ingredient, so you're going to get 50 of them every time. And what we're trying to do is just make as many tacos as possible to bankroll Orange Scrips and turn them into grade 12 materia. Using that materia, we can pentameld our gear, but as I mentioned, they're selling for too much right now for me to justify it. So I'm just going to make a ton of money instead, and then eventually these tacos will be the fuel to start our gearing process. So, because of how expensive the materia is right now, it doesn't make any sense to attempt any sort of pentameld whatsoever. We can get what we need out of the level 100 gear with this exact setup. So, I pretty much just emphasize control, and whenever I have an opportunity to dump CP in there, I do, and I only overmeld on the accessories to get CP and a little bit of control, but that's only optional, and it's because I'm really OCD about the Spiritbond numbers. I want them to be consistent. So the CP plus 8 on the weapon and offhand, though, is very important. You need to get that in somehow, but this is a very simple build, and we're going to start making money immediately, and we're not going to worry about overmelding right now. Most of the rotations that are out there require you to use CP syrup, and I don't want to do that. Instead, I want to use Spiritbond potion, and that's why putting the CP on the main and offhands is important to me. And because this is now a level 72 craft for something that gives you +6 when HQ'd for 3 hours. This is insane, and all you have to do is hit trained eye to bring its quality all the way up to max, and then use groundwork, and you have a 6-second craft that you can just crank out real quick, and you're going to get a lot of spirit bond by using this item. The other thing that you can do to increase spirit bond is better crowned pie, but we can't actually make this, and right now it is completely out of stock here on Siren, so we have to do an alternate method that has to do with your Grand Company seals that I hope you've been keeping up with, like I said in the last video, stockpiling ventures. Now, you can get this food for free if you are a higher rank in your Grand Company. What you need to do is go down here and, Glacier Crystal is one of them. Get a multiple of 6, so 36, 42, 48, 54. I'm going to get 54 Glacier Crystals. I have over 1,000 ventures at this point, so I don't need them anymore. We're going to get a blast from the past and go back to Revenant's Toll and go to Talon right here. And Talon, if you go to Assorted Accruements, Better Crown Pie is right here for those Glacier Crystals we bought from the Grand Company. We click Exchange, Trade, boom, we've got our pies now. With those 2 spirit bonding things, you should be using them all of the time whenever you're mass producing your materials, whether it is with Quick Craft or with the old-fashioned way, if they're easy to complete. So I need these 30 leathers. When you have used both spirit bonding items, you typically get a spirit bond percent every other synthesis, sometimes back to back. This is going to get your spirit bonding up very quickly, and this is going to be a main source of the new grade 12 materia. Particularly for CP and craftsmanship, we want to spend the Orange Scrips on the command one. Once you hit 100% while you are quick crafting, you will interrupt yourself to extract the materia. See how we do here. Not too bad. We got a Control 23. Those are selling for like 120,000 right now, and I'm very happy with that load. And the quick craft continues, and I'm trying to burn all of my materials while that food is still active. Now, when we're trying to get serious, we're going to use the good food. This is still the best food for CP and control. That's always what we want to emphasize. And I have made a modified version of the consensus macros that are found on Teamcraft. If you're not familiar with Teamcraft, I recommend it as a really good resource. I made a slight variation on this, though, because the one that's as of today on their page will break the synthesis because this current set that I just showed is too overpowered for what it has. So the key difference is one delicate synthesis has now become a hasty touch. And other than that, this is primarily the same. I'm going to copy and paste both of these macros in the description for you to use. But this is how we are going to quickly get Orange Scrips. So with that food in hand, you know you have enough. If you have 699 CP, we are going to start making collectibles, and this is how we're going to get our grade 12 materia. So you start the synthesis, and then you just hit part 1. You sit back and let it do its thing. I'm going to move my face so that we can see what's happening. Just listen for the chime, hit part 2, and this is how we're going to lazy craft our way to riches. Now, I show you this way because it is usable for any craft class at any point. But there's one fine detail I want to point out here about the tacos. To make one taco like this, it takes 1 minute and 19 seconds if you fire the second macro immediately. There's one minute detail here that I feel is kind of overlooked, and that is there's an option for HQ rye flour. Now, in previous expansions, the Orange Script culinary thing has had something similar every time, but there's a very key detail here. This synth is level 81. So what that means is you can use Trained Eye on it. So I'm going to put Trained Eye right there, and I'm going to put Groundwork right here. We have the ability to pump out HQ dark rye flour at an alarming rate, 5 seconds to be exact. And instead of doing quick synthesis, I believe that an argument could be made to do that instead, to do this. Because this is what happens. We go all the way to 6,000, okay? I'm going to have some fun with this and just go live here and craft this the old-fashioned way. I know that we need to muscle memory at the start because that was not affected by this. So I'm going to start pretty similar here. I'm going to groundwork it 3 times up. And then, because it gave me a good, you can play the board if you're manually crafting. When I make a macro for this, I wouldn't do that. And then from here, I'm going to pop Innovation. And we're going to do a couple of delicate syntheses. I can do one more. Mash Immaculate Mend, and we are at a very similar point to where we were finishing Macro 1, but the difference is the collectability is already sky high. So just for science, let's do this. I want to pump the Inner Quiet a little bit using Basic and Refined Touch. And then I'm just going to go right into this. I'm going to Great Strides, Preparatory Touch it. I didn't even need to use Biogots. It's sitting there. I can finish with Biogots. And Synth over. I have 164 CP left over. That removes the food requirement. I can now use the Spiritbond food if I like, or no food at all, because the Spiritbond food is a little pricey and hard to get a hold of. This is still not a quick moving synthesis, but if you have a mountain of them, be my guest. After doing some tinkering, I have settled on these 2 macros for the HQ Rye situation, and I'm not going to go super in depth with the math, but this is less than a minute. We spend 6 seconds doing the HQ Rye. This is nearly a 20-second net gain in efficiency, which is, 75% of the time spent instead of 100%. So you get that 25% to go do something else. And this is what it looks like. I'm going to have all of these macros in either a pinned comment or the description, depending on character number limitations. But I'll find a way to get you these macros. But here they are. This is for when you have no HQ materials and you got to use food. And then these are for no food, but with HQ materials. So to see this in action, when you have 2 Darkrai flowers, you get 6,000 for that easy of a synth. We hit part 1. It's going to go for 32 seconds. This is going to take us to the almost maximum in progress, and then we are going to do a far more abbreviated quality increase using a lot less touches because we don't need as many. And 20 seconds isn't a long time, but when you can potentially get 30 meat pieces per hour, so that's 15 cents, you're looking at you were doing like almost 20 minutes, now you're only doing 15 minutes. So it's a big difference. It adds up over time, and the goal is once we pin a meld, we get that time down even lower. But for now, that's what we've got. I've got 47 tacos, and this is what you do with the tacos. When you have a massive amount, you just send them all, and we're going to have enough for 7 new level 12 materias. We are focused on getting the control one because that's the one that is most needed, and it's also the one that sells for the most. So I get 7, and then I turn in some more, and I'm going to try to get 7 more. Just barely got another set of 7. So 14 total off of this evening's craft session that I just did, and man, it took a while, and there was some trial and error getting that macro right too. So you see some lesser ones at the bottom, but I could unmeld and put the 12s on here, but you got to look at these prices right now. I'm going to have to come back and do a pin a meld video later. I meant to do this now. This was meant to get our materia to enhance our gear, and we were going to make money later. But the money is too good to pass up right now, so put up for sale. The price is falling rapidly today. I've sold some in this price range earlier today. It's falling like a knife. This is urgent. It may come back up. I don't know. But until this thing bottoms out, I will be throwing down materia as well until it bottoms. So let's see, 97. I'm going to sell mine in groups of 2 as well. Now, one way to get things to an affordable point where you can buy something you want is produce the item and overwhelm the supply. In the stock market world, this is called shorting, and we are essentially shorting the Craftsman Command materia. And then when this thing bottoms out at a reasonable price, I've sold a couple dozen today. I'm going to buy all the ones I sold back at a fraction of the price and then meld it onto my stuff after I have pocketed a lot of money. You can see the damage already done so far just from spamming that. So I'm making money before my operation is even fully operational. Now let's take the next step to get this thing really going. Now you might have noticed my very bloated inventory. This is what's in it. I have, let's take a look at my retainers. I've got 2 miners, 2 botanists, and a fisher. So, including my own character, I had to make 6 sets of the level 100 gear to get fully operational. That was one heck of a task. It involved me hoarding materials for the last week or so. And then finally, once I got the macros going good and I could crank these out quickly, I did so. The way that gathering retainers work is there's a minimum to get the product as far as gathering. And then once you hit that gathering number, all you should care about is perception to increase the amount that you get. So when we look at what I was working with from my previous generation gear from level 90, I can only get 20 of everything. We want to do better. How do we do that? If I'm not putting grade 12 materia on my own crafting stuff, I'm certainly not doing it on throwaway gear for retainers. This materia, Guile 8 and Guile 10, are reasonably priced. In fact, I'm going to grab those right now because when they're cheap, you get them. Let's see if there's some cheap ones to be had here too. And I am going to do this all with these materials. I'm going to pull all the ones under 1,000 here. And I already had quite a bit to begin with, so this is not all it takes. This takes quite a bit. You can do the math here. And you want to go through and make sure that you fill every single slot in your inventory with Perception 25. And on some of these, you might notice that they don't actually need the 25, so you use the 20s instead right here. I'm going to have some unused values, but on a 1k cost materia, that's an acceptable thing to me. And then you can try to overmeld the accessories because as you see, we have 25, but at a 17% success rate, you can do the math on this overmeld. We've got, 5 accessories and then 5 main hand. So that's 10 equips, then times 5. So we're looking at 50 overmelds needed at a 17% rate. It's reasonable to expect that it would take about 300 materia to pull that off. I don't have 300 on me. I'm not going to for a while. I can do it for maybe 1 retainer to see if it's even worth it. But one thing to keep in mind here is, especially on the non-accessories, I'm going to replace these later with whatever comes out in patch 7.2 or 7.3 whenever we get the high-end craft and gathering gear. So I'm not going to go too crazy on this stuff. I will do 1 set for science, though, to see what the difference is. So I had 50 left over, and I started the overmeld process a little bit for science, and I got almost a full set worth. I should have done hatchet and scythe. And I still am going to probably do that. All right, we got a scythe, and fine. Let's just do 20 on the hatchet. These are super cheap. Again, don't blow the bank on this. Get cheap materia at the right price and take advantage of opportunities. Don't go crazy. And I am content with what I've got. Let's see the difference. I favor botany currently because of its potential for scripts. So for the science one, where we see what we can pull off, I am going to do the overmelded one. So, okay, this is the full overmelded set, just slightly. What do we get from this? That's pretty good. We were able to increase everything up to 30 other than broccoli. These will increase as the potential of our gear increases over time. And the lower 90s stuff even creeps up into the 40s. For example, maple sap. That's a good one to be 40. And then when we look in the 90s, not only have we hit the max values, but we've dropped them all to 50 minutes. A lot of these are still very relevant, and there's a lot of money to be made from these in this area. So I'm very pleased with the results of this. I would have liked to have seen a clean 30, but this is how we increase the output of our retainers. If we went to the effort of getting these guys set up and doing all this stuff, we want to get our money's worth out of them. I feel pretty good about that. So now I'm just going to empty my inventory and equip them all. Let's see how a miner without an overmeld looks, so y'all can see the difference. All I did was overmeld the main and off hands, and that's a massive difference. We're still in the 20s. We only hit the 30s on the 95. So if you're going to do this, after seeing this, I would strongly recommend overmelding, especially if you only have 1 or 2 retainers. It's just going to take me a little longer to do this, but I'm absolutely going to do it. And I can restore my inventory and get back to being a Taco Bell franchise and make more money. One of the great things about using a lower grade materia on your earlier set, like I used 8 in the previous expansion, you have a 100% rate of retrieval. So I am replenishing my stock before I desynthesize all of these items and return them back to the planet. This alone has taken so long. I should have just thrown it all away. For my actual gathering setup, it's pretty similar, but I put GP in all applicable slots and I threw gathering 25 on the pants because there wasn't enough space. Is this good enough to get Orange Scrips on Gatherer? Let's find out. How I like to gather in this is I try to go for the free attempt. Didn't get it. There we go. Then I collect. I didn't have the best RNG on that, but that's not an indictment on the gear. Don't go crazy on this gear either. The grade 12 materia situation for gatherers is the exact same as it is for crafters. So I will not be melding those either until the prices get under control. And I am just going to casually collect to get Orange Scrips. Now, what about your hunting retainers? These are based off of Disciples of War or Disciples of Magic. And lucky that these are way easier to gear up quickly than the other ones that we just did. So I saved the easy for last. There's relief here. You want to progress in the main story far enough to unlock the Armorer, which gives you your level 99 job specific gear. So for me, I got locked into White Mage way back in the Realm Reborn days because White Mage was the best at farming crafting materia. Believe it or not, you could go into main story raids as White Mage wearing crafting gear, and you could spirit bond it crazy fast doing that. But I digress. So anyways, that's why White Mage gets leveled first in an expansion. You take that stuff to your retainer and you dump it on there, and then it leaves your inventory, and then you can go back and just collect that again, and you have gotten free gear to put on your guys. And I've already done this, so look, I've got piety on them. And this is a super important thing because combined with these NQ98 just for the eye level, we get an important milestone. The Ronique Chucks clock in at 10 now, and that's a massive deal. They weren't before I did the accessories and the armor. So you need to do both. If you need to quickly get those accessories, they are so cheap that currently it is not worth even crafting them. If you are okay with just the NQ versions to get Ronique Chuck up to 10, which is used for our taco operation, we go back to Solution 69, back to our collectible area. And there is a merchant and mender right here next to where we turn our stuff in. And we just want Battlecraft accessories. And we can get these for 20k a piece. So I spent 300k to instantly outfit my Disciples of Magic. And I didn't waste any time. Because the materials are honestly worth more than that right now at this point in the expansion. Later on, you might want to rethink that, and there's also probably level 100 stuff that you can acquire at that point. But for right now, in 7.0, that's the fastest way to get to 10 chucks per venture. There you have it. This is how you make money before it's even time to actually make your money in Final Fantasy XIV Dawntrail. I hope you found this video helpful. Part 3 will be coming with my real money-making strategies. Orange Scrips typically isn't the efficient way to go, but for right now, we're going to ride it while it's hot. And then we are going to diversify into some other guild-making opportunities once we are fully established as not only crafters, but as online entrepreneurs as well. So I've got a lot of fun things planned for us, and I will see you again soon, my friends. Man, love that money. Later, y'all.